was a kind of a get-together, political get-together in Galway. It was a Fianna Fáil party. Its leader, Brian Cow, was interviewed the following morning at 10 to 9, and everybody said that he appeared to be half drunk or hungover, and so I did this first painting of the party, basically as like a bunch of clowns partying, so they were all there, so that's how it ended up. And the first painting has Brian Cowan as a clown, basically, drinking his pint, and the rest of the party are there having a good time with bow ties and masks and so on. So that's how it started. So I really felt that the Irish politicians were acting like fools more so than anything else, that there was nothing concrete or solid or serious about it, and that's how it was being viewed by the public at large. And as an artist, I turned it into a satire. So this was basically the beginnings of a satire series on Irish politics. I actually acquired the birthplace of the philosopher Berkeley. He's Ireland's most famous philosopher and one of the greatest contributors to political understanding. And he was a great believer in Ireland. And one of his great questions would have been, and whose fault is it if poor Ireland still remains poor? I think that's particularly relevant for our present situation.
Maxims Concerning Patriotism by George Berkeley, Bishop of Clyne. Published in 1750. Every man, by consulting his own heart, may know whether he is or is not a patriot, but it's not so easy for the bystanders. A man whose passion for money runs high bids fair for being no patriot, and he likewise whose appetite is keen for power.
What happened was a friend of mine went to a car boot sale and found a box of clowns, and he always knew that I was out looking for something that was going to inspire me to do a painting series, and he phoned me up and said, "Ramie, I've just come across a box of clowns. Do you want them?" I said, "Absolutely, bring them on to me." And it was strange, but some of the clown figures actually looked particularly close to some of our politicians. So I said, "Okay, this is good, and let's start." So I started the series. So I was, to a certain extent, inspired by the actual clowns themselves, the actual little doll clowns. They were actually inspired me to do the painting series. I wouldn't have done it otherwise. They gave me what they did was they gave me a burst of energy to actually go and start a creative series.
He that always blames or always praises is no patriot. A patriot will esteem no man for being of his party.
Berkeley's maxims concerning patriotism are still as valid today as they were when he wrote them. He was really speaking about how the public should be served, and that honesty, decency, integrity and were the basis of how actually the nation should be run. So you're really looking, he referred a lot to banking and so on as regards how banks should serve the people rather than people serve the banks, and I think it's quite relevant for this present time in Ireland. Whereas I could be very, very serious about the political situation and the Irish nation, I do believe that this is actually poking fun at the establishment, and the establishment deserved to have fun poked at them. They've let us down. It's been a disaster. You know, I mean, we've fought to have the Irish nation for so long, and here, 90 years later, we're selling it down the tubes, going down a sinkhole, because of what we owe internationally in monetary terms. I mean, money is the actual coinage of commerce. And if we have no money, we have no commerce. The banks were dealing with commerce. The Irish people should not be paying for the bank's mistakes.
To be a real patriot, a man must consider his countrymen as God's creatures and himself as accountable for his acting towards them. Where the heart is right, there is true patriotism.
They're an interesting actual sequence of history in Ireland. This painting series goes from 2010 into 2011. This painting is actually called Dáil Debate. That's his working title anyway, and it really has the concept of how chaotic it is in Dáil Éireann. So there's a bunch of sort of clowns with their masks on and their makeup on, going around in a circle. Some are upside down, some are sideways, some are leaning backwards, and in the midst of it all there's a monkey. And the monkey, to an extent, should really have his symbols being claps there, like, you know, this is the bell, this is the bell, you know, I control the Dáil, stay quiet, keep quiet, down, get out, you're barred. Hibernia, the sinking ship, rats deserting the sinking ship, which is really sort of what the state of the nation is at the present moment as regards to politicians. All politicians who don't really want to be involved in trying to reactivate our Dáil are jumping off the ship. Included in the painting, and then there's two major battleships out behind. One flies the flag of Europe, and the other flies the flag of the IMF. And I think they can sink our little ship very, very quickly.
A man rages and rails and raves. I suspect his patriotism.
The political demise. How somebody of the leader of the nation can be fired. The whole theme of this painting series is actually Political Circus, and so this is one of the real core of it as a political circus, and it's got Brian Cowan being fired out of a cannon in a circus ring with a poison chalice in his hand, and the person who is sipping it is Micheál Martin, the now leader of Fianna Fáil.
The love of praise and esteem may do something, but to make a true patriot, there should be an inward sense of duty and conscience.
The Green Party. The Green Party are going over the hill. They had two bills that went through Dáil Éireann. One was about dogs, and the other was about stopping the oldest sport in Ireland, hunting the stag. My oh my oh my, how green is that? Green in the face.
A sot, a beast, benumbed and stupefied by excess, is good for nothing, much less to make a patriot of.
This painting is actually the circus tent. And in the circus tent, we've got the IMF and we've got the European Central Bank. And we have a number of clowns going into it, and we have one clown leaving it with the Irish flag under his arm and the harp. But this particular painting really was painted in winter when we had all the snow and it was really frosty and discontented Ireland. This painting series are archival. They will last forever. They're very significant in the history of Ireland. It's about the dissolution of the 30th Dáil, which is really quite important. And it's the change of Ireland. Ireland will go from the past to the future in this period of time. So I think they're very, very significant painting series. Good satire. It always lasts.
The factious man is apt to mistake himself for a patriot. The end.